Durant's got Ginobili on him. Give and go. Curry.
Yeah.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
We talking about practice.
Nope.
You're serious.
Yeah.
Give it up. You get it back.
Oh, beautiful. Give back.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Give and Go podcast presented by Sport.media. My name is Daniel Freeman and I'm joined by Dylan Brown, Jed Lanyon and Jared Gardner. We are 1 week down and this podcast is titled Are We Overreacting? Because at this stage of the season, I think everything is a bit of an overreaction after 3 or 4 games for each team. We're going to kick it off with a little bit of a laugh. We have 4 overreactions here from the first week. These are concrete, set in stone, will happen based off what we've seen from a week of the NBA action. Who wants to kick us off with their first overreaction of the season?
I'll go.
Go for it.
The Denver Nuggets are going 82-0.
It's set.
They've beaten
set
the
in
Warriors.
stone.
That's all they need. Going 82-0.
The 82-0 dream is still alive for Denver. We are going to get to them later, but no, I like that overreaction.
For me, the haters were right. LeBron can't play in the West.
Oh no, Brownie. Ep.3, we are going to get to them as well. Brownie, what have you got?
Warriors aren't going to win the title.
Oh, big call. Why?
They lost to the Nuggets.
They lost to the
Nuggets have won the
Nuggets
win it all now.
Nuggets have won the whole thing. All right, mine is there is only one team in LA, Brownie, and it's the Los Angeles Clippers. There's a 2 in the win column next to the baby brother. Sorry, Brownie. No, the Lakers will be fine. The Lakers will be fine, but we are going to get to them later. We're going to start with touching on the pace and the scoring, which we've seen a huge. It's almost unprecedented the rate we've seen. The teams are running the ball and pushing the ball, and the scores that we're getting, some of the 140s and 130s are off the charts. Are we overreacting because it's just the first week and that everyone's kind of fresh, ready to go and running for it? Or is this something that is going to be sustained and we've got to get used to it?
No clue. Still first week.
I know.
Can't tell. You probably have to wait a month before we see it. We might see a dip or it might be sustained, but I don't think it could last.
Well, I mean, the numbers are off the charts. So if you look at it, so last season we had the Warriors who led the league in points per game, surprise, surprise, at 113.5. Right now, that mark would average 13th in the league through the first week. Now, obviously, as we said, it tends to drop off. So if we just look at it in October, so October of last season,
Yep.
In the month of October, there were 4 teams last season who averaged over 110 points per game for that first month. The Warriors led it with 121, so they dropped off about 7 by the end of the season. 4 teams. So far this season, we've got like probably 2 or 3 games left in October for each team. There are 20 teams scoring over 110 points per game, from 4 to 20. And then you look at it pace-wise as well. So last season, the Pelicans had the fastest pace of any team. They were averaging just over 101 possessions per game. This year so far, that would be the 21st fastest pace.
Wow.
And again, looking at it in the month of October, last year there were 12 teams in October who played at a pace of 100 possessions or more. This season so far, 26. And 3 of the other 4 are on 99. The one team who refuses to play at pace, just guess who it is. I reckon you'll be able to get it. Which team do you reckon is last?
Last in pace.
Spurs?
Yep, San Antonio. Popovich will not change.
Even they dropped 140
Yeah,
on the Lakers.
exactly. But they are dead last. But I just think we've seen obviously the freedom of movement with some of the fouls, also the 14-second shot clock.
That's made a big difference.
Do you think that's been one of the biggest changes?
That's key because there's been a couple games, I think in the Houston Lakers game, in the final moments, there were a couple of positions where they would usually throw it back and just waste clock, but they had to get it back up. So I think that's been why there's such high scores now.
Yeah, it's a real noticeable difference where you do see they get an offensive rebound, they pull it out, and you're used to, we're going to stand here for 10 seconds, and now it's, hang on, there's 5 seconds on the shot clock. Yeah. And some of the fouls are a little bit ticky-tacky, but do you think the players will eventually get used to it, or are the referees going to go a bit easier on some of these foul calls, these freedom of movement calls eventually?
I think it'll be a little bit of a mixture of both. I think players will kind of get a bit used to it, but at the same time, the umpires will kind of realise the norm.
Nobody wants to
Of-
see
of
free throws
basketball
for the
and-
whole game.
And yeah, they'll have to adjust as well. So it's going to take a bit of adjusting from both sides. But yeah, it's been a hectic first week of basketball, and it'd be good to see it happen for the rest of the season.
Alrighty, we are going to start with the team out west that are 0-3 and are not named the Los Angeles Lakers because everybody's starting with them. We are going to get to them next, but we are going to start with the OKC Thunder, who are 0-3, fell to the Warriors and the Clippers without Westbrook. In the former MVP's return game against the Kings, they gave up 131 points and lost
It's a massive worry.
to the Kings. Are we overreacting off the basis of 3 games, 2 of which without their best player, or is there cause for concern?
I think there's a cause of concern. That Kings game, the fact Paul George and Westbrook played well, but they got no one else.
Yeah.
Adams didn't show up. Like, who else have they got? They lost Carmelo. He might be a bit of a loss, even though he didn't play that well last year, but they don't have that third option. I think that's going to be an issue.
And how much can they blame it on missing Andre Roberson?
Well, this is the thing. Every
too,
time
Yeah.
he doesn't get that star status, but when he's not there, we notice it.
You notice all the defensive deficiencies for the Thunder because he's just such a great on-ball defender, and he can take the best guard and leave Russell Westbrook to kind of sit on a different player, and it gives the Thunder a bit of a different dimension. But is that going to make enough of a change to get them as one of the top seeds in the West?
Yeah, I think the big problem for the Thunder, look, defense is bad, but as we just said, everyone's defense is bad. Like, there's teams giving
All
up
teams giving over 100
ridiculous
points.
totals. It's really the Nuggets who are the ones who are really locking down. Everybody else is giving up insane numbers. Their problem is their shots just aren't falling, plain and simple. If you look across the board, they are dead last in field goal percentage, dead last in three-point percentage as a team overall. They're second last in free throw percentage. Just nothing will go down. The 2 Melo replacements, or guys who are going to be getting more minutes because of Melo's absence, Patterson and Jeremy Grant, they're 4 of 22 from 3. Schroeder's 14 of 50, so 28% to start the season. Terrence Ferguson, who started all 3 games with that Robertson missing, he's made just 2 of his first 15 shots.
And as much as we knock Melo, those players aren't anywhere near Melo's.
Especially
Melo's
offensively.
level, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They're not knocking them down, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to be that bad. But name one player on their roster who is a really, really good shooter.
Can't.
Because Paul George is
Paul
a good
George
shooter,
can-
Yeah.
but I don't even think he's a really, really good shooter.
At his best, he was.
Yeah.
I just don't think he
But
just doesn't
anyway,
take as many shots anymore.
Take it out of those 2. Take out their 2 stars. Who's a good shooter on that team?
No one.
Arenas is okay.
Yeah. No, I couldn't give you
Yeah,
one.
that's it. There's just nobody on that team that you're expecting to shoot 40% from 3. And that's the problem because it's for each team this happens, but for the Thunder in particular, they want to bully you inside. They've got Steven Adams, Nerlens Noel, and Westbrook is just, a machine heading towards the rim every time. But if they don't have shooters outside, there's no space for
There's
them.
no threat. Yeah.
Exactly, and it's got to be a two-way thing. The shooters need the slashers to give them space, and the slashers need the shooters to create the lanes because teams are worried about the 3 ball. So they've got neither of that. Well, they still have the slashing, but they don't have that shooter, so it's just not working.
This is why I don't understand why they went for Schroeder.
Yeah, well,
He's a good backup, but you need shooters.
Yep, and they have absolutely none of them right now. I think those shots will eventually start to fall and they'll be fine, but I do think this is the limitation on why I don't think they're a genuine contender because they just don't have quality guys who you can rely on to knock down big shots. We saw in that game as well, I think there was a couple of minutes left. They were down about 5. They got a offensive rebound. It fell out to Schroeder, and he had a shot from 3. Would have cut it to like a 1-possession game right there with the Warriors, and he airballed it. Like that's who you want. You need somebody who can knock down a big shot like that, and they just don't have it.
Yeah, and you just look at the top teams, especially in the West and even the East, and you just got guys coming off the bench who are just going to play their role. And I think it's kind of a luxury that some of those teams have some of those guys. But OKC just need to find someone.
Yep. All right. The Lakers, the other 0-3 team out west, they fall to the Blazers, the Rockets, and then the Spurs in OT. Look, they're exactly what they thought were going to be. They've got some issues, but they're entertaining as hell, that's for sure. They are entertaining. Brownie, the biggest issue in your mind, what is it? There's quite a few, but what is the biggest one that they need to work through?
For me, shooting. It's
Same
shooting,
issue as the Thunder.
Yeah, except I think
They do have some who can.
I'm at the moment. I'll say Lonzo he's looking better. His shot mechanics are looking better, but he can't shoot off the
His
dribble.
misses are bad, but at least his percentage is okay.
He's looking good the
Yeah,
past
he's hit
couple
some
of games.
okay ones.
But there's just a lack of shooting, and the pace that they're playing at. I don't know if we can sustain
It's the third
sustain it
fastest
with
pace
LeBron.
in the league.
He's
Yeah.
in his 16th season. I don't know if that's viable.
Yep. What do they do at centre?
Yeah, that was my biggest issue. Well, there's not a lot they can do. McGee and Vita Zubac, what other than
They need
go
like
small?
Wagner,
Yeah.
When they go to that small lineup with Kuzma in the center, they just get abused.
especially
in the
when
paint.
Stevenson's playing the 4 as well. There's a
in
few
that
times
Blazers
they've done that.
game, they were just running riot in the paint. It was they
Especially
couldn't
the
stop 'em.
Spurs game. I'm not sure. Did anybody else see the Spurs game at all? No. Was Aldridge basically? He was just
backing down,
bullying everyone. He got like 20 fouls on their big man combined. Everyone was fouling out. They just can't do anything. If a team has an all-star center against the Lakers, they're going to really, really struggle.
Well, even Clint Capella matched up well with McGee. He couldn't do much to stop him.
I think McGee's been solid. He's had 9 blocks across the
played well.
3 games, but his 23 minutes, I think like 15 to 20 minutes is really JaVale's limit.
That's his
But the
max.
problem is the other 25 minutes, they just don't have anyone. Because as we said, they bought in, Zubac got his first minutes of the season against the Spurs. He had like 5 fouls in like 5 minutes. Like it was something ridiculous like that. Jonathan Williams looked all right, but he's a little bit undersized. Yeah, they just... Mo Wagner, when he gets back, Wagner, however you say it, should get minutes because they just have a huge hole there right now. Just touching on the 3 balls as well. As we said, so far they're shooting 28% from 3 as a team. LeBron's 3 of 19, Kuzma 6 of 22, Ingram 0 of 5. So eventually some of those guys will knock them down. It's not as big of an issue as the Thunder have with spacing, but it is an issue. And the other one as well is, do you think their starting lineup should change it? I think Josh Hart should start, but...
It's an interesting one because Josh Hart is a great scorer off the bench. The one question I want to ask the two of you is, who is the Lakers' number 2? LeBron's the number 1, and he's always had a number 2 guy, Kevin Love in Cleveland. Who is the number 2
It
for
should
the
be
Lakers?
Ingram, but at the
Ingram,
moment, it looks more like Kuzma is willing to take that mantle and run with it.
Well, he was 28. Kuzma
Kuzma had
37
37
and
8. Yeah.
against
But the
Yeah.
thing with Kuzma
And
is
he's
he's
first
so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And I think because he spent 4 years in college, I think that's his ceiling.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just a really good role player or starter.
Whether Ingram could be.
Ingram can be a star.
Well,
That's-
this was the year Ingram, we kind of expected Ingram to come into that scoring role and really be that number 2.
Yeah. Yeah,
But-
well,
He threw some hands, so we'll have to wait and see.
Wait
it
a
was
few
a
games.
twat. So anyway, but yeah, I think that one is an interesting one because it's not clear right now. But I think Josh Hart should start over KCP, and I'd start Lonzo over Rondo. If you're really working
Well,
on
they have to
development
now.
and you want to bank on Rondo, then I really think Lonzo should play.
Well, aren't they just easing him in after the
Well, he's had
surgery?
the knee surgery, so
Yeah,
he's
well, if it's
pretty
that,
limited in
then
minutes.
yeah, he should start, in my opinion. Now, I don't think it's that big of a deal because, as we said, LeBron started 9-8 with Miami, 19-20 with the Cavs, 2.0. So
79
Yeah.
games left.
exactly, I don't
So-
think it's a huge deal. They got the Suns, the Nuggets, the Spurs, T-Wolves, and Mavericks in their next 5. They'll be confident. The Nuggets will be a good test, and then the Spurs again. But against the Suns, T-Wolves, and Mavericks, they'll be hoping they can notch up their first 3 wins. That's for sure. But I don't think there's too much to worry about. But yeah, there's a few areas which we kind of knew headed into the season. This is what we knew, that this team right now on paper probably isn't good enough to contend with the best teams, and we've found out what we already knew. All right, the Raptors. Is Kawhi back already, or is it too early? You're the big Kawhi fan. Come on.
I'm all over Kawhi.
Yeah,
Yeah, early MVP form.
MVP, Defensive
over it.
Player of the Year, Most
Yeah.
Improved.
He's just fitting in
Rookie
so well.
of the Year.
Yeah. Why not? No, it's Ben Simmons.
It's
We
Ben
know
Simmons.
that.
So you think he's back already?
Yeah.
You're
never
impressed
doubt
with what
Kawhi.
you've seen?
The
Agree?
only question is, like, can they keep him?
Can they? Well,
Like,
that
how
is
far
the
will they go
question.
in the playoffs? Can they,
Can they
can they-
convince him to
yeah.
stay?
like, wash away the demons?
I think he's he's slotted in seamlessly, and even if he's not at his very best, he's still a top 20 player in the NBA. And when
so
he is
good.
at his best, he's top 5 easily. So it's a great it's great for the Raptors that they've invested in him for this season, but they do have to turn it into long term. Can they keep him on the books?
Yep. So, I mean, he's 26 points per game, 9 rebounds, just under 3 assists a steal, 45% field goal, 46 from 3 from his first 3 games. That's comparable to his MVP season.
Yeah.
Some of the numbers are a little bit down, but he's
Finals
still a bit
MVP
rusty.
season.
Yeah, I mean, he was
He's
9 of
spent a year
22.
out of the game, so,
Exactly.
yeah.
9 of 22 against the Cavs, 10 of 25 against the Celtics, was a lot better against the Hornets. So he's still got some rust to work out, but
any fears that that year off would take effect are gone.
And these Raptors, they're pretty good,
Yeah.
especially now that LeBron's not in the East. Which really shouldn't be a surprise. They were the number 1 team in the East last year. They won 59 games. They replaced a brilliant offensive player who had limitations on his range with a, if healthy, top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't come as a surprise. And they didn't lose their depth. So really, they're right there, and especially with the Celtics struggling at the moment, and 76ers look to have a few holes as well. They look to be definite leading that number 1 spot in the East. Moving on to another team who is undefeated in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks. Bud has unleashed Giannis finally with some space and pace. What everyone has been crying out for forever for this Bucks team to build around Giannis, considering the timeline for his, I think it's 21, his free agency. So it's coming quick. It comes way quicker than you think it would. So they needed to make some changes, and so far, signs have been pretty promising.
Yeah, they've got a great sign. They've built it around Giannis, but it was just that key of getting the game plan in place that allowed Giannis to be at his best while also maximising the value of all those guys around him. And they're taking a lot of shots, a lot of 3-pointers, so it's a great look for the Bucks early on.
Yep, exactly. So if you just look at their 3-pointers, last season they took under 25 threes per game, which was the 5th fewest in the league. Yep. So far, over the first 3, they're averaging 40. They made under 9 last year. So far, they're averaging 16 made. So seeing huge spikes in both of those. And I think the most promising thing is that they're sticking to it. So against the Knicks, they were in control of that game fairly easily. They went 1 for 13 from 3 in the third quarter. Knicks pulled all the way back, but they stuck with it, went 6 or 7 in the fourth from beyond, and pulled it out fairly comfortably in the end. So they're sticking to it, which is what you want to see. As I said, they're pushing the pace more assists. I think overall it's been pretty impressive. I like what they've done, and they've got good pieces. I mean, Middleton, Bledsoe, unfortunately, Daly and Thon aren't getting much of a look in, but Brogdon as well. They have a lot of nice
Ilyasova.
pieces. Yeah, and Brook Lopez. And that's Lopez and Ilyasova give them shooting at the 5 position, or 4 if you're Ilyasova. So it's something they haven't had before.
I think Philly were missing Ilyasova a bit.
And
earlier.
Bellinelli as well, yeah.
Definitely.
And there's a team in the West, I can't remember their name, who could really use Brook Lopez, but slip my mind.
Just a big guy.
Just a big guy who could shoot a little bit. But still do want to see it against the elite teams, which they're going to get the chance. Because right now, as we said, was against the Pacers, which is a pretty good win, against Charlotte. And I think Kemba put up 46 on them, I'm pretty sure. It was around that mark in the opening game. And then, obviously, against the Knicks. In the next 5, they'll verse the 76ers, the Raptors, and the Celtics. So there's your litmus test. That'll be the true test for Bud. But 0-3 for Bud and Giannis is not bad at all.
3-0.
Yes, it's a very true other way around. No, that's the Lakers. Anyway, moving on to another 3.
Just keep throwing
Lakers bashing podcast.
I got to enjoy it. I got to enjoy it while you're doing, not so great, because you give it 5 months and you'll be killing everyone. All right. Has Denver found their defensive mojo?
I think so. I think they're playing
So
great
we're
basketball.
not overreacting. They found it.
Well, I was overreacting in the sense that they're not going to go 82-0.
Well, you did say that we're going to go undefeated.
But they've got a great system in place that their offense has always been great, and they've had good young pieces for a long time that have been great offensively, but it was just that defensive side of the ball that really killed them, and they've had a great defensive rating through this season. I think it's the best. It's best in the NBA, and I think it's 90. I think it was
only team to keep in their 3 games to keep everyone under 100, which we just talked about, the 130s and 140s.
Kept
Everyone's
the
putting up,
Warriors
including
under
the
98.
Warriors.
Yep.
So
And that Warriors game, they missed like so many free throws down the stretch. That shouldn't have even been that close.
Yeah.
But to still, and the last play was Juancho Hernan Gomez with the block behind on Damian Jones. So defense won the game. As we said, for Denver, that promise word always keeps coming up. They've got so much promise. Jamal Murray, Jokic, Gary Harris. There's so much young talent. But this is the first time. Defensively, they ranked 25th in the league last year. It was their huge Achilles heel. And so far, which I think a lot of that, we're going to get to a second, some of the changes they've made about how Jokic is defending, especially the pick and roll. But I think a healthy Paul Millsap makes a huge difference as well.
Yeah, I think people are looking at the stats for Paul Millsap and they say he has 4 points in a game and doesn't do a lot on the offensive end, misses shots, but his value for Denver is as a defensive player, and he just fits so well into that team on the defensive end.
Exactly. Now, look, as good as Millsap is, Jokic is the key to how far this team goes because he is one of the most offensively gifted centers in the league. He's already had a 35-point perfect triple-double, 11 of 11 from the field. And I think pretty sure I saw he was the Western Conference Player of the Week, I think.
Surely, yeah.
So not bad from the Joker, but we want to look a little bit at some of the defensive changes that they've made. Some of the ways he was defending the pick and roll last year changed to this year. Now, obviously, these clips, it's very easy. You could look through the same game and find clips the other way as well. It's just, this is not a concrete way they're doing things, but it's just some of the ways it's changed. So we're going to start with last year, some of the ways they defended the pick and roll. In this first clip here, you can see CP3 brings the ball up, and Jokic, one of the main things he did last year was he was always sagging back into the paint. You'll see it on all three examples. For starters, Jamal Murray going under the screen on Chris Paul is not exactly the smartest idea, but gives him way too much space, and CP3 is not going to miss that one. Again, with Kyrie, you can see how far back in the paint he's pulled by our man Bainesy, and he's got no chance to move his feet quick enough. He's never been a great shot blocker, so that's not his strength, which is something you got, yeah? No. Now, this is the main one which I want to look at, just how far he is back from where the actual pick and roll is, and he doesn't move his feet quick. He's never going to be... Look, he's not in the world's greatest shape, it could be said, and he doesn't have the quickest feet. So when CJ gets some momentum up on him, he's got no chance to stay with him. Exactly. So if we start looking at this season, this is one of the first defensive possessions of their season. Tobias Harris has the ball, and Jokic actually he's almost hedging out, borderline double teaming to force the ball out of Tobias's hand and force someone else to be the playmaker rather than falling back in and letting Tobias be in control of the possession. We see it again with Devin Booker forcing the ball out of his hand. The one thing with this is it's a little bit risky because it does leave someone open. So good teams may be able to exploit this eventually, but so far it's working. We saw it against the Warriors. This is similar to the McCollum one, except he's up so much closer that Clay can't get past him, forces a bad pass out of bounds. Again with Curry hedging on that ball screen, and Gary Harris gets a steal. And this is down the stretch as well, forcing the ball out of Curry's hands, make Iguodala be the playmaker, bad pass. And then on the last possession, this is just individual defense. Look, he does lose his feet a little bit, but he forces Steph into a pretty tough shot.
That's a win against Steph Curry.
Exactly. So I think there's been some improvement and some changes to the way Jokic is defending, particularly the pick and roll. It's not all the time. There's a clip as well where Durant comes down in the pick and roll and he does sag off and let Torrey Craig just defend him one-on-one. So
that's promising. Yeah,
there's some changes we've seen which do look promising, which is something we'll have to wait and see if it continues. But right now, tick so far from what we've seen out of Jokic and the Denver Nuggets defense. All right, moving on to some impressive rookies so far. There's been a lot, actually, over the first week, but 4 who have caught our eye. Brownie, you have Mr. Luka Doncic.
Yes, he scored... What is it? He scored 19.6 assists and a steal on 50% field goal percentage with the plus and minus of 5 against...
That was against the last game, pretty sure.
Last game,
the Bulls, I think.
He was pretty key to them winning that game.
He's been good overall as well. It's just he's starting to show the playmaking. The shots are kind of falling, not quite there yet, but overall.
In the first game he had, it was in foul trouble in that loss to the Suns, but he bounced back against the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
He got 26 points, 6 boards, 3 assists and 1 steal. And 1 block and 2 steals in the win against Minnesota.
Yep.
So
Tick first week.
I think big tick.
Take it. Jed, you have Mr.
DeAndre Ayton. Yeah, he had a rough debut against Jokic.
Yep.
Doncic.
No, I think Ayton against Jokic. He struggled against Jokic. It wasn't his
was
first.
it-
I think it was his
it
second.
wasn't his first game, yeah.
Well, he had a
Second
rough,
game.
rough
First game
start
was
against
pretty
Jokic.
good,
My
but
bad. 5 points, 8 rebounds,
Yeah.
1 assist.
Yeah, so
Shot
that was against
28%
Denver.
from the field. Yeah, Denver. 5 fouls. But against the Warriors, he dropped 20 points, 14 boards, 5 assists, shooting 54%. 4 of those rebounds were offensive rebounds, and he was 8 from 8 from the line, so he was pretty efficient.
Yeah, we're still seeing some of the defensive issues, but like really, that's expected with a rookie who's
Yeah.
coming in on like to learn the schemes of the team and everything. But offensively, we're starting to see just how talented he's delivering on some of that talent that he promised. You have
Jaren Jackson.
yeah, Jaren Jackson.
So yeah, Jaren Jackson. He's one that kind of I think flew under the radar. This is such a stacked draft class that he kind of falls a bit below some of the others, but he's having a great season so far. 15 points a game, 6 rebounds. The big breakout game was against Atlanta, 24
yeah.
with 2 blocks as well. So he's a good player for Memphis, and he fits really well. And
He's got a nice post game as well. He's got a lot of moves in that repertoire. All right, look, nice try everyone, but has your rookie scored 35 points? No, they haven't. Trae Young, through his first 3 games, 14 points, 5 assists versus the Knicks, 20 points and 9 assists versus the Grizzlies, 35 points and 11 assists against good old Cleveland, 45% from the field, 39% from 3. One of only 4 players to record a 35 or more point and 10 or more assist game as a rookie, LeBron, Iverson, and Steph. So good company there. Look, those stats are always a little bit of bit picking and choosing. But at the same time, I still do think, as I said last in the first episode, that Trey's going to have some really rough nights this year. But
Really good ones
yeah,
too.
but some really good ones because he's going to get a lot of opportunity because no one else is shooting it on that Hawks team. So he's showing that knockdown ability that we've seen. He is such a good playmaker. I think that's been lost in the fact of his shooting. That is one, it could almost be his best strength. He is an elite playmaker. He's got the ability to be as good as Steph is at playmaking, regardless of what happens with that shot. So, yeah, promising from our 4 main rookies. And it'll be interesting to see because I'm pretty sure Doncic and Trae Young verse each other tomorrow, I think. I'm pretty sure. So that'll be one to watch. And that'll be compared for the whole season because of the trade. They're going to be compared to each other, but both have been fairly impressive to start with. All right, it's a bit of a sad Aussies in action first
pretty high
episode.
3 weeks ago.
Music.
Yeah,
this whole
we
segment.
need some sad music. Yeah, we were pretty hyped last week. It was looking good. We had record numbers of Aussies in the league. But look, the first week hasn't gone so well. Brownie, kick us off with Simmons, who won't play today versus the Pistons with his injury. But
Yes, he
his
left the
first
Orlando
2.
game with back soreness, but he got a triple-double against the Bulls.
Yep.
13 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists. And the only criticism I've got against him in his first couple games, he has not taken a 3 yet.
And
I thought you've improved to jump shot. I thought you were working on it all summer. We have not seen it yet.
No.
And then against Boston, he scored 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 8 assists.
Saving it for the playoffs.
Secret
Secret
weapons.
weapons.
It is a little bit alarming that we're not seeing any growth at all in
Yeah.
that shot.
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
Looks the same as last year.
it does look fairly similar to last year. Exum.
Dante Exum. He's playing good minutes now.
Yeah.
He had 26 minutes against the Kings, and he dropped 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Team high
Against
plus
the
21
Kings
against
as
the
well.
Kings.
Oh, that is up
Like
there.
I said, Dante Exum, we just need to see him
Exactly.
get on
A
the
solid
court,
season,
play
yeah.
solid minutes. He's slotting in as the 6 or 7 right now in the rotation.
Yep.
He played 18 minutes against Memphis, 13 points, 2 assists on 4 of 5 shooting. He's been energetic off the bench, aggressive, but that was against the Warriors. Against Memphis, he had a bit of a fall, which the Jazz in total did as well. They were cold for that night, 0 from 4 deep.
Yep. Very good. I like the descriptive words as well. Brownie, you need to work on your descriptive words. Energetic, I like it. Joe Ingles, probably our hottest Aussie to start.
Yeah, he's been awesome to start the season. Started the season with 22 points, 6 assists, and 4 steals against Sacramento, and against the Warriors, he was probably Utah's best player. 27 points,
Top 8
4 rebounds,
in the
4
league.
assists. That's what I said. He's Basketball Reference had him 8th best in as a small forward in the league.
This is why, people.
And as same as Dante Exum against Memphis, 9 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. So a good stat line, just missing that scoring. But
Memphis changed the rims, clearly.
he's one of the better options for Utah this season, and he's having. I've said this so many times throughout the years he's been in the NBA. I don't know how he wasn't in the NBA sooner.
Yep, and in relation to that Memphis game as well, they lost that game, which they really shouldn't be losing to Memphis, so everyone was off in that game. All right, unfortunately, that's where the good news ends for our Aussies in Action segment. Gets a little bit dark now. So Dellavedova has only played in 4 minutes, which was the last 4 minutes of the Pacers game, which was junk time. Game was already over, and he was inactive versus the Knicks, so not even in contention to get some minutes. And Bainesy, he was okay in his first couple of games, averaging 8 points, 5 boards, 3 of 8 from deep, so he's still putting up that ridiculously ugly looking jump shot where he crosses his feet over in mid-air. Looks like there's no way it should ever go in, but still it went in 3 times. But he right hamstring strain against the Knicks, missed a loss to Orlando, and last time I checked, he was still uncertain for the 2-game road trip to OKC and Detroit. Otherwise, everybody, I can never get his name. Brokoff. Yep.
Yeah, he's been playing limited minutes for Dallas, but he gets on the court and you can see already that he's got a green light from 3 for Dallas, because I think he's 2 of 6 overall for their 2 games.
That's a green
light, 3 games so far. Yeah, but just for him to get on the court and just be able to take those shots, he's shown that he can do it at the NBA 3-point line, and I think it'll just bode well for his confidence going forward.
Yep. All right. Thon Maker, is he in witness protection, or where is he?
I don't know. We need to, as you said,
he's 7 foot tall
lost.
And we can't find him anyway.
I have no idea where he is, because he's got donuts for minutes and donuts for stats. So yeah, a bit sad.
Yeah, not great.
I thought he might have got a minute.
Yeah, might have got a minute. He seems to be behind. Now the name's got. I think it's Christian Wood, or it's Christian Wood or Christian Brown on that Bucks rotation, which doesn't look great for Thon Maker. Now Jonah Bolden played just a bit of junk time.
Yep, 3 minutes one game, 1 minute the other.
Yep, and our others, Dang, Mitch Creek, Humphreys. We forgot about Patty Mills, the hottest of all hot. Patty Thrills, take us away.
Hit the big clutch shot over the Lakers to keep them
Brownie.
holding at 0-3 in overtime. So he came up big. He had played 31 minutes and he only scored 12 points. But yeah, obviously when you hit that clutch shot,
he does seem to be behind Bryn Forbes though in the rotation.
That's the thing. He's still coming off the bench, which
that's the thing, because Dejounte Murray got injured, and then Derek White got injured, and Lonnie Walker got injured. So he thought there was a spot in the guard rotation for him, but he just hasn't.
It's similar to Manu Ginobili, I feel. Where it's like, even though how good he is, he just always seems to be coming off the bench. Whether that's
not sure you can compare Patty to Ginobili, but in terms of off the bench,
he's now second in bench scoring, only to Ginobili.
Yeah,
so he overtook Malik Rose for 3,128 points.
This is what I like in Aussies in action. Thank you, Jed. No, but in saying that though, Bryn Forbes, I really did not know much about him at all, but he can shoot. Yeah. He can really shoot from one game I've watched, but just look at his stats as well. He's a decent player. I don't think he's getting his spot, and he's so much taller, so he's a lot better defensively as well. But yeah, Bryn Forbes, not bad, but get out the way because it's Paddy's turn. All right, that is our depressing wrap-up of Aussies in action for this week. Not much to talk about. We do, however, have an Aussies in action highlight, which is going to lead off our next segment in the plays of the week.
This first play on opening night, Ben Simmons, just showing what he's got in his trick book here, behind the head pass, Mark Fultz cutting to the ring. a great cut from Fultz, but the find from Simmons is just absolutely incredible.
Play number 1, play number 2.
Jonas Jerebko, who would have thought he would be the hero on this Warriors team? We see Gobert follow
Is he the
Durant.
sixth All-Star?
Absolutely. Gobert fails to box out Jerebko, and he just gets that tip, and he's the hero of the team that didn't want him.
Yeah, the stifle towel not looking good for that back-to-back back-to-back defensive player. Karis LeVert, this is probably not the world's greatest play, but it is a go-ahead game winner from LeVert, mainly because I just wanted to talk about him. He's averaging just under 25 points per game this season. Crazy from the field. He's 24 years old, averaged just 12 points per game last year. If he keeps this up, one to watch for most improved, certainly. Nets wouldn't include him in the Jimmy Butler trade, and we're maybe starting to see why.
Showtime.
Oh,
is
here we
here.
go. Brownie's
LeBron on
excited.
the break. The king throws down the hammer. And Showtime is officially
Underway.
here. He
First of many.
christened
He christened the rim.
the mega throwdown dunks. Then down the other way, poor defensive effort,
Yeah,
and Lillard
great
throws it
defense.
down. And then
The
LeBron
very
does what
next
LeBron
play.
does, and bang, there you go. Had
Very
to show
good.
up Lillard in his own house.
Yeah, but how many wins though?
Doesn't matter.
First,
That's coming.
That's how
coming.
many wins.
First 2 buckets
Zero.
to LeBron were certainly memorable, that's for sure. All right, that is our plays of the week. Finally, we're going to wrap it up with some weird and wacky moments.
Okay, we got Markieff Morris showing off his playmaking abilities with a ripper pass to the ref. It would have hit him right in the head. It was that good of a pass. Then we go to Lance Stevenson with misses and
With the
little
air
show off. Bit of a Nick Young moment.
And here Mello, just the usual, get out of here, and running the floor, getting the pass from James Harden, and dragging the 3 in his first game as a Houston Rocket.
That was very PG version of it. Wesley Matthews with quite possibly the worst inbound of all time. He misses
God,
6 foot
oh my-
DeAndre Jordan by 3 times his height. And
Here's an interesting one. Opening night, Jimmy Butler being introduced as a Timberwolf. Gets
Oh,
the
no.
booze after the trade,
Solid track though.
the trade rumors, bashing his teammates. But then he drops 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 steals, and he turns them into MVP chants.
Oh,
He swings the crowd.
oh gosh. There you go, Jimmy. That didn't take long. But the winner is Alonzo G, former Cleveland Cavalier from the NBL with,
Oh.
yeah, look, whatever that is. Pivots about 17 times for some reason and misses the
Misses the rebound
absolute
too.
gimme.
Shackton right there.
Yeah, that is not great from Mr. Alonso, mate. That's why you're in the NBL. As much as we love the NBL, that's why you're no longer on the Cavs. All right, that is all we've got for this week's episode. Thank you for listening and watching. We will see you next week where we'll have some more overreactions because it's going to be like that
Always.
for a while. What are the Lakers going to be next week?
I think we get a win.
Get a win?
Surely.
2 wins. 2 wins.
2 wins.
If there's not at least a win by next week,
then we've got...
then we got some issues. There's people are going to get traded. There's going to be drama.
Will Luke Walton survive?
You'll
Oh,
find
he-
out
he
on
came
next
out-
week's episode.
He came out as the favourite to be fired.
You'll have to find
I
out.
reckon he'll hold the job till January.
He'll hold the job till
And then
January.
he'll be gone.
Gee whiz.
LeBron usually goes a bit off. He goes a bit crazy in January. So
You've given him a 3-month leash. All right, that is all we've got for this week's podcast. We will see you next week.